الله من قرأ الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في محكم كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاتقون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Our discussion is continuing on the subject of community psychology, a subject in which we examine the influence of an individual on the community and the influence of the community on an individual. And we saw that communities are made up of different kinds of individuals and different kinds of groups. And according to the riwayat, there are three groups in the community that constitute the pillars of that community, without which a community cannot function, without which a community cannot thrive, without which there can be no progress in the community. And these three groups are leaders, scholars, and doctors. We spoke about leaders, and last night we spoke about doctors. And we saw while we were examining, we spoke about scholars, and we saw while we were examining the scholars that there is a lot of emphasis paid to knowledge and the acquisition of knowledge, be it religious knowledge or secular knowledge. Of course, the pillar of the community mentioned in the hadith are the religious scholars. And we saw how it is a duty of the community to get some individuals who are the best amongst them and send them to study religion so that they can come back and guide the community. But the question arises, we have heard so many majalis, mashallah. Mombasa is a community that has many elderly people, many of whom themselves are scholars in their own right, because even though they may not have gone to study, they have learnt a lot from the mimbar, and they have read and built themselves up. So a question may rise, we have heard so many majalis. We have heard about scholars and we have heard about leaders, but we have never heard about doctors from the mimbar. Why suddenly you're bringing a subject about the doctors? What does a doctor have to do with anything? Why are you talking about the doctors today? And it's a valid question. So first let us answer this question and then we get into the subject, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So it is very simple, really. The human being is made up of two components. There are two facets to the existence of a human being: the body and the soul. the physical existence and the spiritual existence. The leadership, yes, there is a leader for every community. And the scholar of that community is responsible for the spiritual upliftment of that community, for taking care of the souls of the members of that community. But at the same time, we have a component that is a physical component, the bodies. And hence, it makes perfect sense when we look at this hadith to understand it like this. That when the Imam says these three pillars are the leader and the scholar and the doctor now handles the physical well-being of the community. Because indeed, health is a ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jal. It is a blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal. Without health, you can do nothing. You cannot even perform some of the acts of worship that bring you near Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because you are unhealthy, you are sick. Imagine a situation where many people in the community are sick. You find that that community is now handicapped, it cannot move forward. And hence, physical well-being is also important. The same way your spiritual well-being is important, physical well-being in the community is very important. And that is why we find so many narrations, inshallah, we look at some of them today, about doctors, the role that they play, about the well-being, physical well-being of the mu'mineen. And we start off with the beautiful hadith from our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. In which he says, شيئان لا يعرف فضلهما إلا من فقدهما. There are two things, the merits and the value of which are only realized when a person loses them. There are two things. The value of these two things you will only realize when you lose them. الشباب والعافية. Youth and good health. When you ask the elders, they will tell you, yes, I wish I could be young again. Ya layta ash-shabab ya'udu yawma, as the Arabs say. Oh, I wish my youth would come back to me again. But now it is gone. While when you look at the young people of the community, they don't benefit and they don't take advantage of this youth. When they grow old now, they find now we can't climb the staircase, they find now we can't lift the bags. Now they think, oh, I wish I was young again. And the second is good health. When you are healthy, you don't appreciate the good health. It is only when you fall ill, you become sick, at that moment you realize the value of good health. And so it is indeed a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is why when Allah grants us blessings like this, it is our duty to preserve these blessings, to take care of these blessings. That is why the Holy Quran tells us, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Never put yourself in harm's way. Never put your body in harm's way. That is why you are not allowed to do anything that would harm your body in Islam. You are not allowed to cut yourself. You are not allowed to injure yourself. You are not allowed to commit suicide. You are not allowed to do anything that would give you harm. If somebody says, no, I'm going to chop off my hand. No, Islam says you can't chop off your hand. He says, it's my hand. If I want to chop off my hand, who are you to tell me no? So Allah has said no. وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Never put yourself in harm's way. And the Holy Prophet tells us in a beautiful hadith, he says, السَّمْعُ أَمَانَةٌ وَالْبَصَرُ أَمَانَةٌ وَاللِّسَانُ أَمَانَةٌ وَالْقَلْبُ أَمَانَةٌ وَلَا إِيمَانَ لِمَنْ لَا أَمَانَةَ لَهُ. He says, your ears are an amana, your eyes are an amana, your tongue is an amana. Everyone knows what amana means, isn't it? Amanat means it is a trust given to you by Allah Azza wa Jal. Your tongue is an amana. Your heart is an amana. After mentioning all these parts of the body, the Prophet says, wala imana, the one who does not take care of amana has no iman. That means these physical bodies that we have been given by Allah Azza wa Jal are an amana from Allah. And because they are an amana from Allah, we have to do our best to preserve them. That is why we, as believers, have to take extra precaution not to do anything that will make us sick. If you know that something will cause you to fall sick, you have to take precaution. You cannot do it knowing you will fall sick, still you do something. Because it is an amana, you will be doing khiyana if you do that. And hence we find that indeed, this blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal is something that Islam teaches us to preserve, because it is something that affects the community. If I fall ill today, it will affect the whole community somehow or the other, in an indirect way probably. But if 10 people, 20 people, 30 people fall ill, then in a more direct way it affects the community. However, illness and sickness is a reality of life. All of us at one time or the other have to fall sick. It is not possible for a person to say, I will never fall sick. No, one time or the other you will fall sick. So if I fall sick, what am I to do? Does Islam have anything to guide me when I fall sick? It says yes. Islam says when you fall sick, there are 4 steps you have to take, one after the other. Number 1, you have fallen sick. What should you do? Step number 1, try and bear patiently with your sickness for as long as you can, without taking any medication. Try and bear patiently as long as you can. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he says, imshi bida'ik ma masha bik, which means continue with your sickness for as long as you can. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal has kept within us, within the human body, a system that takes care of these sicknesses and fights off these sicknesses, known as the immune system. There is already something within you that helps to counter these bacteria and these viruses that cause the sicknesses. It is there in you. Allah has created you with this inbuilt ability. And so if you can persevere, if you can bear patiently, then bear patiently. Your body will repair itself. But we say, no, unfortunately, this sickness has overwhelmed me. I can't take it anymore. I don't have the patience to bear it. What is the next step now? The next step is, we are told in the riwayat, now that you can't bear it anymore, now you seek medical advice. Now you go to the doctor. The Holy Prophet says in a beautiful hadith, he says, tadawaw. That means, go to the doctors when you fall sick for dawa. Tadawaw fa inna Allah lam yunzil da'an illa wa anzala lahu shifa. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal did not send any disease or any sickness, but that He also created for it a shifa, a remedy, a cure. So now you are in step number 2. Step number 1, you tolerated as much as you could. You are patient for as long as you could remain patient. Now you have gone to the doctor. For what? For medication. Going to the doctor for medication is part of the instructions of Rasulullah. There are some people who say, we never go to the doctor. That is wrong. That goes against the instruction of Rasulullah. Of course, there are those who are addicted to going all the time to the doctor also. For everything small, immediately they go to the doctor. That is equally wrong. So now you have gone to the doctor. There was a prophet according to the riwayat of Bani Israel, one of the prophets of Bani Israel, one day he fell sick. And he decided, I am not going to the doctor. I'm not going to the physician. Why? Because the one who made me sick will make me well again. I'm waiting, and the one who made me sick will make me well again. Allah Azza wa Jal sent down to him a wahi. Oh my prophet, I am not going to make you well again until you go to the doctor. La ashfika hatta tatadawa. I am not going to give you shifa until you go to the doctor. Then he says, فَإِنَّ الشِّفَاءَ مِنِّي. The shifa will be from me. Even when you go to the doctor doesn't cure you. Allah cures you. But you have to go to the doctor. Okay, so I have done step number 2. I'm now at the doctor's. What is step number 3? Step number 3, you are at the doctor's office. Tell the doctor all your symptoms. Don't hide anything from the doctor of your symptoms. Ajib. Look at how much Islam is catering for. Imagine a scenario, you have gone to the doctor, you have one symptom which is very embarrassing. Say, I'm not going to tell the doctor about this symptom. No. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, he says in a beautiful hadith, من كتم الأطباء مرضه فقد خان بدنه. One who hides from his doctors some symptoms of his disease has done khiyana to his body, has betrayed his own body. So now you have gone to the doctor. Islam says you're talking to the doctor. Tell the doctor all your symptoms, all the things that are related to your illness, so that now the doctor can prescribe the right medication. Now you have finished step number 3. You have gone to the doctor. You have given him all your symptoms. The doctor has prescribed the medication. You have taken the medication. You have felt better and you start becoming well again. Then comes step number 4, and that is, now that you are well again, thank Allah Azza wa Jal. Thank Allah Azza wa Jal. Because it is Allah who has cured you. And that is why disease and sickness is something that has a metaphysical aspect to it as well. Although it is a physical thing, when you fall sick, it is your body that is sick. But it has a metaphysical aspect as well. We are told that when somebody falls sick, while they are in that state of sickness, all their sins are being wiped away. And that is why when the 4th Imam, Sayyidul Sajideen, Zainul Abideen, Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, when he would meet somebody who has recovered from a sickness, he would tell that person, Yuhannika tahur min al-dhunub. Congratulations to you that your sins have been purified. Congratulations to you, your sins have been purified because you underwent that sickness. And so these are the 4 stages that a person who falls sick has to undergo. Number 1, try and take it as much as you can patiently without medication. Number 2, you could not do that. It overwhelms you. Go to the doctor. Number 3, you're at the doctor's. Tell the doctor everything to help him to prescribe the right medication for you. Number 4, you have now recovered from your sickness. Thank Allah Azza wa Jal for giving you back your good health and for wiping away your sickness. But why do we fall sick in the first place? Why? When we look at sickness in itself, these ailments, these diseases that are there prevalent amongst us, we find that from time to time we fall sick. The scholars say that there are 2 possible factors for falling sick, 2 possible reasons for a person falling sick. One is related to the physical world. If you overeat, you fall sick. If you consume something that is harmful, you fall sick. If you expose your body to the elements for too long, you fall sick. These are all related to the physical world. But at the same time, there are certain reasons and factors that are metaphysical that cause a person to fall sick. For example, a person is being tested by Allah Azza wa Jal and he falls sick, like Ayyub alayhi salam. Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam was undergoing a test. He was sick. Or the adhab of Allah Azza wa Jal comes down on you because of something you have done. And that adhab takes the form of sickness. It is a bala. Our eighth Imam, Imam Ali Ridha, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he says, كلما أحدث العباد من الذنوب ما لم يكونوا يعملون أحدث الله لهم من البلاء ما لم يكونوا يعرفون. Every time when the servants of Allah begin doing a new sin which they never used to do before, they start a new sin, then Allah sends upon them a new bala which was not on them before. Sometimes, some people have been committing one sin for many years and they have been facing the bala of that sin also for many years. Now suddenly a new kind of bala has come in their life. They should try and reflect, have I started committing a new kind of sin which I have never committed before? Because the eighth Imam says, you commit a new sin, now there are new consequences that you will face. There are new consequences that will be faced. And so we find that health is very important. Maintaining good health is very important. Islam has a lot of emphasis on how we should try and preserve our health, what we should do to preserve our health, what we should do when we fall sick. But we want to also focus on this group known as the group of doctors. And as we had seen the earlier groups, each group has its virtues and its vices. So let us turn now to the virtues of the doctors. What makes a doctor a good doctor? Number one, a sense of responsibility. According to the teachings of Islam, a good doctor is one who has a sense of responsibility. When a person comes to him who is not well, he feels responsible that I have to do all I can to make this person well again. When a person wanted to become a doctor, I don't know if it's still the case today, but in the past they would have to take an oath known as the Hippocratic Oath from Hippocrates. The Hippocratic Oath is one where you take an oath that you will do all you can to preserve human life and to help those who are not well recover their health again. Islam says a good doctor is one who has this sense of responsibility because that doctor has the knowledge in his hands. He is the one, if he turns away from a patient, the patient can do nothing. So a good doctor has this sense of responsibility. In one hadith that comes to us from our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he is quoting Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam, Prophet Isa alayhi salam. And Prophet Isa says, Inna tarika shifa'il majruh min jurhihi sharikun li jarihih. He says, one who abandons a person who is wounded and does not cater to that person, does not take care of that person, is like the person who wounded him in the first place. He is a sharik to the person who wounded him. Try and imagine for a moment. If you are a doctor and you turn away a patient whom you can take care of, this is the level of responsibility that you have. And this is what you will have to answer for on the day of judgment. Prophet Isa says, it's like the one who caused the wound. It's like the one who wounded him in the first place. So the first thing that a good doctor has is a sense of responsibility. The second thing that is a virtue in a good doctor is obviously the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. Of course, when we say taqwa, it's a very broad term. When it comes to doctors, it is very particular. And when you have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal as a doctor, not only does your demeanor and your approach towards the patient change, but your approach is one of humility, because you know, I am just a means. Allah is the one who is giving the shifa. I am like a tool in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is why when Amir al-Mu'mineen says, "Man tatabbaba falyattaqillah walyansah walyajtahid." Whoever wants to be a doctor, whoever wants to practice medicine, he should have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. He should be sincere, yansah walyajtahid, and he has to strive hard, he has to work hard. So the second quality that is a virtue for doctors is the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. The third quality that is a requirement in doctors is that they must take extra care to diagnose the ailments of their patients. Diagnosis. Most of the malpractice suits that doctors face in the world today are because of misdiagnosis. As long as you don't diagnose the ailment well, you cannot give the right medication. And that is why in a hadith that is attributed to the Prophet himself, he says, "La tadawi ahadan hatta ta'rifu da'ahu." Don't prescribe medicine to anyone until you have correctly diagnosed his sickness. So the third quality of a good doctor from the riwayat is taking care to diagnose correctly the ailments of your patients. And the fourth quality of a good doctor is one that is very important and which we need more than anything else, and that is that the doctor should have empathy and care for the patient and should raise the spirits and the hope of the patient. A good doctor is one who does not just look at the body of the human being, but also at the mind of the human being, the psychology of the human being. In medical terms, they call it bedside manner. He should have a good bedside manner. When he goes to the bed of the sick person, he should talk kindly, politely. He should give them hope. Insha'Allah, he will get better. Because the hadith says, أَعْظَمُ الْبَلَاءِ إِنْقِطَاعُ الرَّجَاءِ. The worst bala, the worst tribulation that can befall anybody is when they lose hope. So, as a doctor, if you're a good doctor, one of the qualities you need to possess is that you have to give your patients hope. And these are the virtues of a doctor. Of course, like any other group, the doctors also have vices. Of course, the vice that I will mention is not one that is prevalent today. Mostly it was there in the past, and it was very prevalent in the past. Today, you can hardly find this vice, and that is the vice of those who pretend to be doctors. They're not really doctors. They pretend. It is from here that we hear that famous statement, Neem Hakim Khatre Jan. Hakim means doctor. Neem means half. Half a doctor is a khatra, is a danger to your jan, to your life. Neem Hakim Khatre Jan. In the olden days, this was a problem. Because people knew that if I claim to be a doctor, I can gain fame, and I can gain reputation and respect in the community. At the same time, I can earn extra wealth. In those days, the systems we have today were not there of accreditation, of going and getting your diploma, of being a member of the medical board. No, in those days, anybody would open shop and claim to be a doctor. In the English language, such people are known as quacks. Quacks. Yes, we have some now and again, here and there, we hear even today, but mostly this was a problem in the past. It is said, a man goes to one of these quacks, and he says to him, do you have a cure for the hiccups? Itki. Do you have a cure for hiccups? That man immediately gives him a hard slap on his back. So this man gets very upset. He says, what have you done? Why are you slapping me? He said, why are you angry? Look, your hiccups have gone. He says, no, I was not the one with the hiccups. My son at home has the hiccups. And these are the kind of things you get when you go to the quacks. A Persian poet has put it very beautifully in Farsi. He says, Malakul Maut raft pishe Khuda. Goft Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. The angel of death, one day he went to Allah and he said, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. Glory be to you. Yek tabibi hast dar falan rusta. Man yeki qabz un kunad sadta. There is one doctor in such and such a village. I take one life, he takes 100. I take one life, he takes 100. Ya befarma man jane oo begiram, ya mara khidmat digari farma. Oh Lord, either allow me to take his life or give me another job, because he is taking lives quicker than me. So these were the kinds of people who are pretending to be doctors, and they were causing a lot of problems in the society at that time. Today, if we look at the situation, there is less problem, but sometimes the problem does come up because we have specializations, and one may not be a specialist and claim to be a specialist, and so on and so forth. So we need to keep this into account, and it is very important to realize that Islam has a lot to say about medicine. Of course, in one majlis we cannot talk about all the aspects related to medicine, but there is one last point I do wish to mention, and that is the issue of the ahadith that give you remedies. You know, when you look at the ahadith, the riwayat, you find there are many books, like there is Tibbul Nabi, medicine of the Prophet, Tibbul Aimma, medicine of the Imams. These kinds of books, when you open them, you find that one Imam has said, if you have this sickness, you should have this dawa, you should have this remedy. If you have this sickness, you should do this. These kind of ahadith, the ulama say, these ahadith were not general prescriptions. These were specific prescriptions. Why? Because you cannot compare the Imam with an ordinary doctor. The Imam alayhi salam, when somebody would go to the Imam would look at that person and know everything about that person. So he would tell that person, go and this is your remedy. That remedy was for that particular person. Although it has come in our riwayat, we should not say, how come the Imam alayhi salam has said, I should eat this fruit. I ate the fruit so much and I'm still not getting better. The answer is quite simple. It's because we have not understood that these kind of ahadith were for specific cases. Yes, there are a few ahadith, a few riwayat that are general and can be used by everyone, but the bulk and the majority are for specific uses. So it is better always, if you want to follow any of these ahadith to make yourself feel better, to make your illness go away, it is better to consult with a scholar who knows about these ahadith and tell you whether this hadith is of general purport or it is of a specific case. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And when a doctor becomes a good doctor, becomes a godly doctor, becomes somebody who is a tool in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal, then that individual is a role model for the entire community. even for those who are not doctors. He is a role model for the entire community. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala.
محمد وآل محمد.
He tells us, كن كالطبيب الشفيق الرفيق الذي يضع دواءه في موضعه. He says, "O people, you should be like that kind and caring doctor who gives the right medication to the right people." Even if you are not a doctor, learn from this doctor. He is kind, he is caring. You should also be kind and caring to your fellow mu'mineen. He gives the right medication to the right people. You should also treat people in the correct manner. And so, if a doctor does follow these prescriptions, he becomes one who is a role model for the entire ummah. Tonight is the 5th night of Muharram al-Haram. And on this night, we remember the old friend of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the one who was his friend from childhood, the one who knew Abu Abdullah from the time Abu Abdullah was a young boy. I have not read this anywhere, but I have heard many saying this, that Habib, when Abu Abdullah al-Hussein would walk in Medina, Habib would take the dust from the feet of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and he would wipe it on his head. He was one of the close friends of Abu Abdullah, one who loved Abu Abdullah. And indeed, the name Habib means friend, close friend, intimate friend. We find that on the 3rd of Muharram, from the 3rd of Muharram, small contingents of the enemies would enter into Karbala. Small groups of the enemies would enter into Karbala. And whenever the enemies entered Karbala, they would ride their horses around the tents of Abu Abdullah with so much force that the ground of Karbala would shake. And the women would begin crying, the children would begin crying. They would scare the family of Abu Abdullah. This continued from the 3rd of Muharram. Every group that came would scare the family of Abu Abdullah. At one time, Zainab alayha salam comes to her brother and says, "Oh my brother, do you not have anybody whom you can call?" At that moment, Imam Hussein alayhi salam remembers Habib. He says, "I have one person whom I can call." Immediately he writes a letter to Habib. He writes, "Min Hussein ibn Ali ila rajulin faqih." "Oh my Habib, I have been surrounded by the enemies. If you can come to my aid, please come." And he sends the letter to Habib. At that time in Kufa, there is a curfew in Kufa. And the barid of Imam Hussein alayhi salam knocks on the door of Habib. Habib asks, "Who is at the door?" He says, "Ana baridul Hussein." When he hears this, immediately Habib opens the door. He takes the letter of Abu Abdullah. He kisses the letter of Abu Abdullah. And then he opens the letter and begins to read. As tears flow down from his cheeks, his wife asks Habib, "What is the matter, O Habib?" He says that the son of Fatima has written a letter to me. He is saying that he needs my help. She says, "Why are you hesitating?" He says, "I'm afraid about you. Who is going to take care of you?" She says, "You are hesitating because of me. If you cannot go because of me, then you sit here. I will go and help Abu Abdullah." And that way she gives him encouragement to go. So immediately Habib makes preparations and he tells his servant, there is a curfew in the city. You take the horse and stand outside the gates of Kufa. I will come out at night and join you. When Habib reaches his horse, he hears his servant talking to the horse. His servant is telling the horse, "Eh asbe wafadar, if my Mawla does not come, and does not take us to help Abu Abdullah, then I will ride you and we will go and help Abu Abdullah al-Hussein." Habib comes and he tells his servant, you are free in the way of Allah. His servant says, please don't free me. Take me with you to Abu Abdullah. I want to sacrifice myself for Abu Abdullah. Habib now starts his journey towards Karbala. In the meantime, Imam Hussein is giving his rayat, he's giving his banners to all the leaders of his army, and he keeps one banner aside. Somebody comes to ask, Ya Abu Abdullah, whose banner is that? Imam says, I have one Habib who is going to I have one Habib whom I am waiting for. He is going to come. This banner is for him. Ha azadaro. جب حبیب ابن مظاہر آئے ہیں تو حسین خود استقبال کے لیے پہنچے. حبیب کو سینے سے لگایا اور کہا, حبیب بچپن کے دن یاد آ گئے. ایک مرتبہ حسین نے ایک علم حبیب کے ہاتھ میں دیا, حبیب کے ہاتھ میں علم دیا اور کہا, حبیب تم آئے ہو, ہم تمہارے شکر گزار ہیں. یہ کہہ کے مولا حبیب کو خیمے میں لائے. خیمے گاہ میں جب پہنچے ہیں تو تکبیر کی آواز بلند ہوئی. تکبیر کی آواز کو سننا تھا کہ ثانی زہرا نے فضا کو کہا, فضا جا کے دیکھ تو صحیح کون آیا ہے. فضا کے کہتی ہے, آقا زادی حبیب ابن مظاہر آیا ہے. بی بی نے کہا, جاؤ اور ان کو میرا سلام کہہ دو. ایک مرتبہ جب ثانی زہرا کا سلام پہنچا ہے تو حبیب سر پیٹنے لگے اور اپنے منہ پہ تماچے مار کے کہا, یہ کیسا وقت آ گیا ہے کہ ایک زمانے میں جو کوفے کی شہزادی ہوا کرتی تھی, آج وہ بی مجھ جیسے غلاموں کو سلام کہہ رہی ہے. بس عزادارو, حبیب نے اجازت طلب کی. جب اجازت ملی حبیب مقتل میں آئے, مقتل میں لڑے. لڑنے کے بعد جب حبیب زمین پہ گرے ہیں تو آواز دی, السلام علیک یا ابا عبداللہ. اے ابا عبداللہ, آپ پہ میرا آخری سلام ہو. حسین حبیب کے پاس پہنچے, حبیب کے پاس بیٹھے. حبیب کی روح جنت کو پرواز کر گئی. امام حسین ایک مرتبہ سر جھکائے ہوئے خیمے کی طرف واپس آ گئے. عاشور کے دن حبیب کے سر کو تن سے جدا کیا گیا. مقتل میں ملتا ہے کہ کوفے والوں کو ابھی خبر نہیں ملی تھی کہ حسین کربلا میں شہید ہو گئے. ابھی کوفے میں یہ خبر نہیں پہنچی تھی. 11 محرم کو جب یہ قافلہ کربلا سے روانہ ہوا اور روانہ ہو کے کوفے کے جانب پہنچا اور کوفے کے بازار کے اندر داخل ہوا, کہتے ہیں کچھ بچے وہاں کھیل رہے تھے. ان کھیلنے والے بچوں میں ایک حبیب ابن مظاہر کا بیٹا تھا جس نے ایک مرتبہ اپنے بابا کے سر کو پہچان لیا. اپنے دوستوں کو کہا, دیکھو کسی نے میرے بابا کے سر کو نوکے نیزہ پر بلند کیا ہے. دوڑ کے آئے, اس شکی پہ وار کیا اور ایک مرتبہ اپنے بابا کے سر کو لیا, سینے سے لگایا اور کہا, جس کا وارث زندہ ہوتا ہے اس کے بابا کے سر کو اس طرح نوکے نیزہ پر بلند نہیں کیا جاتا. بس عزادارو, اس کا یہ کہنا تھا کہ ایک مرتبہ زنجیروں کی جھنکار کی آواز آئی. عابد بیمار نے حسرت بھری نظروں سے حسین کے سر کو دیکھا. بابا میں مجبور ہوں, ہاتھوں میں ہتھکڑیاں ہے, پاؤں میں بیڑیاں ہے, گلے میں خاردار تو. الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. مات من حسين.